my dogs from the east to the west side. You rockin' brown and orange with me, baby, let's ride. Represent the land, let them know. Tell them, here we go, brownies, here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Join the Dog Pound on the road this season with True Fan Travel, an official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns. Travel to stadiums across the country with other Browns fans and experience the games like never before. This trip includes everything: a private charter flight, hotel, an all-inclusive tailgate, game tickets, boat party, transportation, and more. Cheer on the Browns in New Orleans and party with Cleveland Browns legend Kevin Mack. Visit TrueFanTravel.com today and reserve your ultimate Browns travel package.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Heisling, coming to you live from Pensacola. As always, joined with me on beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, we've got Dustin. Dustin, not fun doing a podcast after a Browns loss, but here we are.
I got to see it live. I didn't want to see it live. Calls in this game. I think our offensive line was held together by a Band-Aid today. Yeah, this was something.
This was good. This was not good.
Well, and the Browns were in it in the end. And, there'll be things made of the call that Stefanski made on fourth down and bringing Jameson out, and to trying to get that first down. But this was a game that I got to tell you that started out like my seats are in 127. So I got to see the whole fumble and Amari Cooper score, and I'm like, all right, this is what good teams look like. This is the right way to start a football game. And then it just kind of, it was bad. It was bad going into halftime. And I honestly didn't even think they had I didn't think they had a chance to come back in this game based on what I watched.
No, I didn't either. I was surprised. I was surprised to see a little bit of life in the second half. I really was. I thought that this was a Browns team that was going to fold. After the half of such a bad first half performance, they were just going to go into the locker room and fold. I mean, that's what they've shown us the past few weeks and into last season, even before Flacco came in, that this is the team that'll just give up. And I hate saying it. It's just not fun when you have to talk about a team that way, but they did show some resiliency in the second half. I think we got to address kind of the elephant in the room. Some serious problems with this offensive line. Injury, of course. You haven't had. It's week 3, and we've got Joel Bitonio at left tackle. That's never a good thing.
Right.
Great that you have a veteran that can step in and do those things and be serviceable for you, and he's had experience doing so.
Right. You
don't want to count on that. I mean, you've got Jed in for a second, and then he goes down. James Hudson goes down. DeJuan Jones wasn't playing well. It's. Man, yes, we cleaned up some of the pre-snap penalties. We did. And credit to them for getting that worked out a little bit. But absolutely no time for Deshaun Watson to do anything. Run game didn't get going until the second half. This offensive line is tough. Now, a lot of it due to injury and a lot of it just due to a lack of experience with these guys playing together. You can tell there's no chemistry. Now, one thing I want to say, because a lot of people are like, oh, we really miss Bill Callahan. Yes, we do. Yeah, obviously. However, let's look at last year too. This was an underperforming offensive line last year, even with Bill Callahan. There are some serious issues with this offensive line, and the Browns are going to do nothing this season, in the postseason, if they can't get that figured out.
Well, and it doesn't matter if you bring Nick Chubb back or not. Like, if you have this kind of offensive line, you're just not going to be able to run the ball. And we know we saw Ford out there with some quick passes out to try to, be kind of a little more, a little more unique on offense. But, man, Deshaun Watson, I think, did he get 8 sacks today? 7 or 8? It was
disgusting.
And they weren't his fault. Like, I'll be the first to say, like, he was running for his life today. And, for the most of the time, he threw it away, made the right decision, didn't, but most of the time it was 1, 2, 3, and the guy was right in his face. Like, he was, and then he did make some plays. But I saw a stat prior to this game through the first 2-3 weeks of the season, second only to the Denver Broncos, the most pressures on the quarterback is the Cleveland Browns, or The Browns are number 1, and Denver's number 2. I think it was 40-some pressures on the quarterback. I mean, you're not going to be successful if you're running for your life all the time. I mean, I don't care who you put back there. I mean, Deshaun, Jameson, DT, it doesn't matter who you put back there. They're going to have the same result because they're going to be running for their lives.
8 sacks on the day for the New York Giants defense. It's tough, tough to watch. It's obviously it it shows, and it's just a bad offensive performance. You can't get anything going. I mean, in the second half, yes, they did. Amari Cooper was playing out of his mind, and let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah,
definitely a get right game for Amari Cooper. He looked like himself out there, and I wasn't really worried about that. We knew he would. Yeah, it was just. You can't get anything going. You really can't when your offensive line can't hold up. And it was nice to see that Deshaun Watson was making some plays with his legs. I know he's, I didn't really question his effort out there today like you have a couple of weeks ago. But, man, and also defensively, I don't think that they were – we've talked about this, Dustin. The Browns' defense relies a lot on their emotion. It's good when it's great, right? When things are going their way, they can rely on that emotion and they're playing with their hair on fire. It's awesome. But when things aren't going well and they're falling back on emotion, they're falling back on frustration, they're falling back on exhaustion, they're falling back on things like that aren't good instead of fundamentals. And it's just, that was disappointing. That was ugly. Hated it and hate that we have to talk about it.
Well, and the fact that here's the problem I have with this football game. We lost to a bad football team. I mean, more than anything, I could sit here and go, okay, we got outplayed in the first half. We came back and we fought and we lost. We lost to a bad football team today. I mean, Daniel Jones had time today and stuff like that, but that got kind of cleaned up in the second half and he was, pressured all second half. But we lost to a really bad Giants team. Like we're going to look back. We're going to look back on this game if this Browns team doesn't make the playoffs, and we're going to point to this game and go, that's the one that we got away from, and we should have won that game for multiple reasons, right, in this football game. And the other thing is, like, it's just we're 0-2 at home, Allie. I mean, this Cleveland Browns football team is 0-2. I'm kind of like I'm excited to go to Vegas, but I'm kind of glad we're going on the road because for whatever reason, this is a team that went 7-1 at home last year, or 8-1, one of the two, and has already got 2 losses on the season. This is not good. You're supposed to win most of your home games and go 500 on the road. This team isn't. They aren't performing at home. They aren't. And I can tell you, the fans, they're frustrated. I can tell you, like sitting in those. Stands.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, whether you're in the stands or you're on your couch, of course you're pissed off. Of course you are, and you have a right to be.
Yeah, but I mean, more frustrated. Just like. I think from what I felt from the fans in the stadium today, like we have playmakers on this team and they just didn't look like they were being playmakers today, right? Like obviously the offensive line throws everything into a wrench, but I just feel like, after that touchdown from Amari after the turnover, like teams that win the turnover battle, 97% of the time win the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like what, like that just doesn't set right with me. With the whole now, of course, we got back in this game and man, we had 3 or 4 opportunities in the second half to win this game. That's what's, I think, more frustrating for me is there was multiple times in this football game where like we just literally gave it to them. Like we just gave them the game. So,
all
right.
No, you're not. We got more to go. When Greg Joseph missed that kick, that was the window. That was handed to you on a silver platter. Go win the game. Go show what you're made of. Go show that even though this offensive line is depleted, you can still put together some semblance of an offense and go down and do something. And it was utterly deflating. It's just so frustrating when there's all of this hype going into this season, and hype doesn't matter, but as fans, it's something that we obviously we're looking forward to this football team and this season, and to at home twice now put on such a poor performance that your fans are constantly booing you. God, it is it's troubling. And when you look at some of these play calls, it's so confusing. It really, really is. This is one of the worst offenses in the National Football League currently. And I mean, take the offensive line injuries out of it. When you're just looking at the offense, even when they're out there and things are going, it still just doesn't look right. And it's confusing because you've got one of who should be one of the better play callers in the National Football League in Kevin Stefanski. You bring in Ken Dorsey. You've got talent on the coaching staff. You've got Vrabel in there. You've got guys that have done this. And have done it successfully with very high-end players. But for whatever reason, these guys show somewhat of a lack of effort or lack of give a damn. And it's just so lackadaisical going out there on offense. Now, defense wasn't pretty either today. I'll say that. But it was just, I mean, I think I saw a comment back here. F grade on both sides of the ball. Yeah, it was. It was a bad performance. It's embarrassing when you lose to the Giants in that fashion.
Yeah, and you know what I was sitting there thinking as it closed on the half, I'm like, and you brought up a really good point, Allie, just the dinking and the dunking, just like a simplistic offense out there, nothing even gadgety or something, that's going to like spark the offense. I'm like, if I'm the defensive coordinator for the Giants, I feel like I kind of have you guys where I want you right now, right?
Well, I want to talk about that on the fourth I forget what point in the game it was. It was a critical down. It was fourth down. Had to have it. And no, I don't think it was it wasn't the last one. But at some point, I was sitting here thinking, why in the hell aren't we just rolling him out? Bootleg. You got a couple of guys. You've got throw a couple of tight ends in there to chip and put Deshaun Watson in the situation that he's best at, and that's escaping the pocket. Give him better room to run. He's most likely going to get the first down or have a better option, 3, 4, 5 yards down the field. So, it's yikes. It is not good and certainly not fun to talk about.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like you said, like those fourth and when they brought Jameson in, I'm like, okay, we know what we're gonna do here, right? And then that one guy just shot through the gap, and Joel.
Who are you talking about?
Well, on 4th and 1, when we were going for it on Jameson, at the end of the game,
Jameis Winston. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the play.
You're saying Jameson. I was confused. Sorry.
No. And the play just got blown up. You know what I mean? The play just got blown up, and you had Joel Petonio over there, who's, again, not used to playing that position. And, it's just like, I was like, the offensive line, I was like, what is happening out there? I was like,
it's terrible.
Can we get somebody from the dog pound to come in and play left tackle point? Like it was like.
I know. Seriously, throw anybody in there at this point. Doug says, I'm 6'5", 310. I'll give it a shot. I mean, guys, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Stadium Mustard and also Teresa's Pizza. Be sure to go check them out. Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, show up at Tuesday in Berea for a tryout. Maybe we can.
There you go. And I do want to talk about this. Chubb, it's true. We were sitting here talking, David and I, and we said, look, was Nick Chubb the last year that he when he was in the year prior, did he just mask so much heinous offensive football that just because he's so good, you can't see some of the other holes in the offense? Yeah. I would say yes to a certain extent, but this season, even when we get Nick Chubb back, by the way, we don't know what version of Nick Chubb we're going to get back. He's not going to save you. He is not going to be the answer to the offensive woes at all. And I think we need to remember that, right? Like, yes, it'll be great to have him back because he's great, but he's not the answer here. The answer is a solid offensive line and a quarterback that can be decisive and make plays. That's the answer.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at what I see from the Browns for the draft of 2025, I think you got to go find an offensive lineman, at this point, because some of these guys, are getting older, and you don't know how much longer they're going to be with us. But
I think you possibly trade an asset to obtain a veteran offensive lineman at this point. I think it is worth exploring the trade market to obtain help on the offensive line. Now, I think you need help with the tackle position. I think you need help on the interior. I think we need depth. think we need a swing tackle. We need depth. So I don't know really what the answer is. I don't want to speculate too much on that just because we're talking out of emotion and frustration. Right. But yeah, you need to. And you also need to target that in the draft. You need to target a running back in the draft. There's a lot of holes right now. And I'm not saying this team can't figure it out down the line. Maybe they can. But from what we're being shown right now, it's not promising. This isn't fun. Yeah, it's just not good. We need a quarterback that can hit the easy things, hit the open receivers in stride, better throws. We need Jerome Ford to hold on to that football. We need we just there was just a lot of ugliness in this game. Yeah,
well,
let's
from both teams. It was an ugly.
It was just ugly. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
As like I said, the Giants gave us every opportunity to win this game because they played like crap for most of the game. You know what I mean? Like
Giants did give you every opportunity to win this game, and the Browns did not get beat by the New York Giants today. The Browns really beat themselves. They had every opportunity. They just chose not to. And guys, I see everybody's comments. I know everybody's frustrated. I mean, you can just see it in these comments. Let it out. This is what this podcast is for. Let it out.
Well,
this
Allie,
is safe space.
I started leaving the stadium at the end of the third quarter and of course the Giants led back in the game, but the Browns were just like, I don't know how much more I can watch of this. You know what I mean? Like it was, and when your own fans are leaving at the end of the third quarter, that's telling you the product you're putting on the field just ain't good right now, right? Like it's just it's like too much to watch. And by the way, it was hot here. By the way, today it was hot. People like I came off sitting in my seat because it was hot. Just 80 degrees. It was just like the sun was beating down on you. So it was kind of a hot day and kind of a little bit of muggy. So I'm not making excuses, but it wasn't a pleasant day to be out there either from a fan perspective because it was just hot and I'm thinking of the defense. They're getting gassed, right? Because they're out there all day long. So it's like, but yeah, I mean the defense, like you said, they tightened it up in the second half. They gave our offense opportunities, and the offense was running for their lives, and they couldn't string together, like you said. And the crazy thing is, Allie, after we got that touchdown, in the third quarter or early, whatever, I'm trying to remember that was when Murray got that touchdown and got the 2-point conversion. All we needed was to string together one drive. That was it, just one drive. And I will compliment Stefanski seeing the what was happening in the game, really kind of be able to feel what was happening in this football game, knowing that it was going to be tight all the way to the end. And the fact that he said, hey, I got to go for 2 here because we may only get another possession to go down and maybe win this game and kick the extra point in the football game. So I will praise him on that. But I also, with 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning, I believe, going for it on 4th on the 20, whatever that was, I don't know. I don't like that. And I know that he likes to be an aggressive play caller, and I'm not taking that away from him. But sometimes you just have to say, hey, our defense is playing lights out in the second half. We do have these 3 timeouts, and I'd rather have 1:30 left, with no timeouts, right? And then, whatever that may be. But I just felt like we were giving them the opportunity. We were like, hey, by the way, we don't want to win this game. Here you go. Like, I just felt like
aggressive is one thing, being an aggressive play caller is one thing, but being outright stupid is another. And I think some of the decisions today were stupid. I mean, I just think they were stupid. And I don't think you need to be a football guru to see it. And, to see some of those stupid mistakes and stupid decisions. But this is a Giants team that isn't projected to win very many games. This is a really bad football team. What's frustrating is this is the Giants team that's really bad, especially offensively. This Browns defense in the first half made Danny Dimes look like Peyton Manning in his prime, and they couldn't stop Devin Singletary. I mean, it was insane. But what I'm going to give the Giants credit here. They were able to build, and that's one thing that this Browns team hasn't been shown that they're able to do is build off of momentum, stack wins, stack positive plays. It's yes, you get a 10-yard gain and then a pre-snap penalty brings you back 5. You can't take those steps, those building blocks to point you in the direction of a win, let alone even get the win, just to give you some semblance of a positive looking offense. So it's Browns beat themselves. I'm going to give the Giants credit that they were able to put some positive things together multiple times today. The Browns couldn't do that. Not only have they shown really under Kevin Stefanski, that they cannot stack wins. They can't put wins together week after week. It's always a really impressive win and then a really bad loss. And then we bounce back, do maybe 2 wins, then a really bad loss. But even just the plays, you can't have a good string of plays. It's always something, whether it's a penalty, just a botched play. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, and like I said, it was very frustrating to go into half, and the fans were just like, "What are we doing here?" Right? Like, like from and I know where you're going with this from a play stand. I mean, when your offensive line is decimated at that point, I feel like you almost have to. And I know you have a playbook and all that, but I almost feel like, and I'm never going to be a coach, and I'm not going to sit here and say I can be a coach, but I almost feel like you have to go in at halftime and kind of just go like this and throw that plan out. Does that make sense? And be like, hey, look, whatever we're doing in this first half is not working. We have to change our game plan going into the second half, because that's the only way we're going to win this football game, right? Like, we're just not going to win it. I think the Browns had at one point 25 yards of total offense going into halftime, which is insane to me. And the only 25 yards was because of the turnover that led to the Amari Cooper touchdown. And I'm like, at that point, I think you just have to say, look, based on what's happening with this offensive line, based on what the New York Giants defense is showing us, we have to change, what we're going to come out and throw at them. If not, their defense is going to have us still figured out, because we're going to do the same thing. And I think sometimes I don't want to say we get too cute, but I think we just
they do.
Yeah. But I just think we have to have a different mindset, like where you have to change. Because here's the truth. Schwartz did that at halftime, right? I mean, the Browns came out and had a very different approach in that second half, and they played pretty aggressive at times, put some blitzes in, and they weren't the same defense I watched in the first half. All right, now they are getting to the quarterback. They are making him uncomfortable. They are doing things a little different. You got JOK coming up the middle, for a blitz. Like, I'm seeing things that I didn't see in the second half, right? Or in the first half. So I'm like, okay, that's what I want to see from my defense. Adjust at halftime and move forward to try to win a football game. And I just feel like the offense just didn't do that at all.
Yeah. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Hartville Marketplace and Flea Market, as well as our friends over at City Barbecue. You gotta have it. Barbecue on game day. It's a good game day snack, good game day meal.
I could use some comfort food right about now.
Yeah, you know what else I could use is maybe a cocktail. So head on over to Western Reserve Distillers, get your hands on some official Here We Go Brownies whiskey. Yeah, that's it is what it is. Let's get into the stats here. Stat breakdown brought to you by our friends over at Lorello Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof.
Hello, welcome to Lorello Vineyards. Larry and Kim Lorello. We have a beautiful Here We Go Brownies wine that we would like to offer to you this season as we did last season. We have several other award-winning wines, lovely entertainment and events coming this summer. So come and see us, wine a bit, you'll feel better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Muni lot this fall. Go Browns.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with Deshaun Watson, who went 21 of 37 for 196, 2 touchdowns on the day. He was sacked 8 times with a quarterback rating of 89.5. Daniel Jones went 24 of 34 for 236, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked twice on the day with a quarterback rating of 109.4. Look, for Daniel Jones, I think, who came off of a pretty decent performance last week, pretty poor week 1 performance. Yeah. I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you like to see the upward trajectory of Daniel Jones, who I think that the Giants had a pretty big question mark at quarterback, coming into the season. Is he going to be the guy? Is he not going to be the guy? He's been playing well. And the Browns really made him look really, really good in the first half. Some of those on some dink and dunk, some screens, things like that. But, I mean, he put it together, again, 24-34 with a quarterback rating of 109.4. None of it was downfield, though. Really, I mean, he was averaging 6.9 per throw. Malik Neighbors, he went, he was the leading receiver for the Giants, 8 of 78, averaging 9.8. That's crazy. 2 touchdowns on the day. His longest was 28. Wan'Dale Robinson, 7 for 61. His longest on the day was 20. I mean, they were throwing the ball. They were able to do it. The Browns let them. Browns receiving Amari Cooper. He had a figure it out kind of day. He was targeted 12 times. He caught 7 of them for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. First play of the game, that was pretty cool. Just straight to the end zone for Amari Cooper. Jerome Ford, he caught 3 for 33. Jordan Akins, 4 for 29. In terms of rushing, Devin Singletary for the Giants, he went 16 of 65 for 1 touchdown. His longest on the day was 43 yards. You all remember that one at the very end. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 5 for 23. And then if you turn it over to the Cleveland rushing attack, Jerome Ford, 10 of 37. Deshaun Watson, he ran the ball 4 times for 26 yards. Deontay Foreman, 2 for 5. So if we go back last week, Deontay Foreman led the team in rushing on attempts and yards. And then Jerome Ford, he was the lead back today. We kind of talked about that on our Wednesday podcast, Dustin, that we were going to see that kind of fluctuate a little bit because it's totally situational. Jerome Ford, outside of that fumble and really in the second half, I thought he looked like a much better player this week than last.
Yeah, he looked more comfortable out there. But man, like you said, key handoff where you don't put the ball in the gut and you lose that. That was, and the fact that we still had a chance. You know what I mean? Like it's just again. I'm gonna look back at this game and be like, man, we had a billion chances in this football game, and we just didn't take advantage of them. And of course, I got to watch a little of the post-game conference. I don't know if you got to see it, Allie, with Stefanski. He took full blame on that 4th down call. He goes, "That's on me. That's my play calling. My fault. My bad." And then, of course, we all know we don't know because he's going to have to get an MRI. But Myles Garrett and his feet that he's dealing with, he goes, "I hate losing." You could tell he was pissed off in the press conference. He typically is after a Browns loss. But he goes, "Look, if they tell me I can play next week, I'm going to play next week." Because he goes, "I'm never going to," because he goes, "I've played through many injuries in my career. And if I'm allowed to play next week, I will. And I can get things taken care of in the offseason or whatever." Because we know that, right? Like you're never going to get better. You're just going to feel a little less hurt, right? You're in the season now. Unless you get a bye week where you can kind of just rest it, you kind of have to go with it, or you have to shut it down for a while. I mean, there's not really any choice when you're in this part of the season.
Yeah. Hopefully some good news in terms of Myles Garrett. We'll keep you posted as soon as we know anything. But yeah, I saw, I think it was our friend George left a comment up here. Let me see if I can find it. Something about, here it is. You see any wins over the next 4 weeks? Yes, I do. Yeah. I mean, if we can set emotion aside, yes, I do. The Browns tend to do this thing, and we talked about it on our Wednesday show. I don't know if you caught it, George, where they play up to their opponents and they play down to their opponents. And that just irks me to my core. Just to my core. I know it's any given Sunday. Things can happen. These are all professional football teams, but they've always done that under Stefanski where, they play up to their opponents, and I respect that, and I love when they do that. But, man, they also do the opposite of that. So, similarly, yes, I do think that we will see a win, probably an unexpected win, actually, in the next 4 games, or even if we look a little bit further in the next 6 games. I think that the Browns are going to probably steal one. We give one away. We steal one. That's just kind of the nature of this team right now. And until I see that this team can stack wins, I'm not going to feel comfortable saying otherwise. That's one thing that I want to see. I want to see them, one, come back next week and kind of shake this off and find an identity, some kind of identity. Because that's another core of it. It's an identity crisis. They don't know who they are.
Well, let's think about this. I mean, we haven't delved into this, but one of the glaring things I saw today from this team is one of the number 1 playmakers last year for the Cleveland Browns, David Njoku, is a big void that was not in this offense. And, hopefully maybe he can come back this week and shake off his injury. But, you take the tight end position out of a heavy tight end, Kevin Stefanski type of offense, it's not so good, right? Like that gives me some worry. So, man, if they can fix this offensive line, poor Jack Conklin. I talked to him personally. He was ready to go this week, and unfortunately, he had that setback on Friday. Stefanski did mention in his presser post-game today mild setback, so maybe that does mean that Jack may still have a shot at starting next week against the Raiders, which would be a welcome addition back to that offensive line, having his expertise and his veteran leadership. But yeah, I mean, if you can get an Njoku back, fix some of this offensive line, and have it so Deshaun Watson's not running for his life, I do think the Browns can have some success. And we do know this as well. Stefanski is not a coach that typically loses 2 in a row, right? We know that. He is a bounce back coach.
Typically doesn't win 2 in a row either, from
Right,
what
but
we've seen.
he's not one to like rattle off 3 or 4 losses in a row, right? Like
That's true. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And as a fan, you want to see that because that means he's trying to right the ship and get it back on track. And he's not one of those that just takes a bunch of losses in a row. So
yeah, I mean, you mentioned the offensive line, and how that was such a core to the reason of this loss today. And yes, it was. Now there were moments where that wasn't the case. There were moments that there was good protection. There was moments where it was gelling. There was no pre-snap penalties, or everybody was lined up correctly. It was okay. It was serviceable. There was times throughout this game where this offensive line was serviceable, and in those moments, that's when Deshaun Watson wasn't able to make a play. I mean, obviously, given the state of the offensive line, panicked, and like somewhat understandably so, but can't make the easy throws, or hasn't shown that he can make the easy throws. He's looking, and he's done this since he's been in Cleveland, to be the hero, which not gonna happen. Just take what's there, and he's looking for the big play that's not there. I will just take the easy stuff, the dink and dunk, until we can get right and be able to form an identity on offense. And I think that starts with a healthy offensive line, of course, and being able to run the ball effectively. We know that's not the case right now due to many different reasons. But regardless, Deshaun Watson has to be better. Even with the offensive line the way that it is, Deshaun Watson has to be better. He's got to be decisive. He's got to be a leader on the field. And we just haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, and I will say this, too. If you look at, and they were talking about it up in the booth, because I was listening to a little bit of the play-by-play. I don't know if you saw this at one point. Deshaun got visibly upset with the offensive line and was telling the guys, "Come on, man!" Like you could tell that there was some frustration late in that fourth quarter, where he was visibly upset, and they made the comment that's the first time they've ever seen him kind of show that emotion at the offensive line. And I mean, when you're sacked 8 times, I mean, I wouldn't like it either, but you're right. It's too much inconsistency happening. Like, and it's true. Like when he did, he was off and on when he had a clean pocket, and he did, and he did have that protection. Like there was some good, there were some bad moments, but again, when you're running for your life, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It was an ugly game all the way around, and just they've got to get this fixed. And quite honestly, I think it's probably the best thing in the world for them to go on the road, channel this, put this game behind them, and focus on an opponent on the road and get out of town. Because I know this enough about the media, Allie. You know this about the people on Twitter. That I mean, I don't ever suggest people go down the rabbit hole of Brown's Twitter. It will make you sick to your stomach. So, but maybe they do need to go on the road and focus on this team and find their identity, because it's not good, and it's losing 2 at home ain't helping the fan base get any more confident about this team going forward. And I honestly said, Allie, when I left today, I was like, I don't even know if this team's a playoff team at this point, because they're not sure. I mean, they're not playing like one. And and the reason I said that was you lost to a bad Giants team. And oh, by the way, you beat a bad Jaguars team, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who the hell and honestly, I don't know who the hell the Cowboys are. I don't think anybody does, right? I mean, the Cowboys
situation, no idea.
Okay, who are we? And I think this team needs to find an identity, and maybe going on the road, and like you said, winning one on the road, like it's stealing one, as you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that kind of settles it down to earth, because I think this team needs to kind of take that outside noise and kind of like think about it. Hey, one thing that matters is what's in this locker room, and nobody's gonna give us a, nobody's gonna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one positive we look at it is it is still early in the season. Obviously, it's week 3, right? Clearly, it's early in the season, but plenty of time to have some good things happen this season. I mean, right now they're not a playoff team. They are not acting like it at all. In every stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's tough. This is tough. It's not fun to watch. It sucks. Period, point blank. Also, want to give a shout out to our friends over at 5 Iron Golf, Lady Caroline Cruise Ship, Greater Cleveland Aquarium, and also Believe Land Landscaping and Power Washing. Be sure to go check all of them out. I don't even want to really go through game balls. I don't think. I mean, I think that there's. There's not a lot to go around today, but just highlighting some of the positive performances today. We talked about Amari Cooper. He looked great. Tough to see him go down late in the game. He was really a safety net at that point and just playing out of his mind. He was really good. I thought Jerome Ford was running well. He was running the ball well, even with a pretty tough offensive line that wasn't playing well. Jerome Ford was able to get it going for the most part when he had the opportunities. Amari Cooper, that's about it. That's all I got.
Well, and I think Amari Cooper, it's funny. I think he listened to a little bit of the outside noise too the last couple of weeks, because I don't know if you saw when he got that touchdown, Allie, he literally threw that thing like a bullet into the side of the like kind of got it off his chest and scored a touchdown. So
Yeah.
and Amari's, we know this about Amari. He's done this in his career, not other cities where he's been great and then just drops off and then he's great again. So again, I think he kind of got himself right today. But man, if he can come back and you can get Njoku and Judy out there and this offensive line can kind of hodgepodge together next week, I think we have a shot. But Myles Garrett, that's a big question mark. We'll find out more about that, obviously, going in the next couple of days after the MRI. But yeah, this team is it's crazy. Like, I don't know. This was a game that I sitting in my seat today, Allie, after Amari Cooper got that touchdown and the defense created that, or the special teams created that turnover. I was like, okay, they came to play today, right? Like,
Sure.
I was like, they were ready, right? And then I was like, what the? And then it just was like, like here was a wagon and just wheels started falling off. I'm like, what's going on out here? But
yeah, that's how it went. Also, shout out to Corey Pahorkas, who he can punt the ball. He can punt the ball and pin them deep. I thought special teams was pretty good today, outside of course, that missed field goal by Dustin Hopkins, but it was 50 plus. I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, that's hard. But yeah, I thought the special teams unit was actually pretty good, just in terms of coverage. I thought the punt game was pretty good. James Prochet, I think, had a pretty good day. He had a really high IQ play on one of the punts, one of the many punts this game, where to pin the ball down pretty deep. So I think, excuse me, to let it go through the end zone for a touchback. That's what it was. Excuse me. Yes. So yeah, I thought special teams was good. I'm sorry. We're just really reaching here for good things, and there's not a lot. And that's
the special teams did play well today, right? I mean, they did play well. I mean, if there was some thing to, if you're the coaches for those teams and those individual groups, you can say, hey, our special teams did what we needed to do. Unfortunately, we didn't get that kick, but guess what? You look at the end of the game, the Browns needed 6 points, not 3, right? You still would have lost the football game, even if misses that field goal, right? So you're looking, okay, and it was a stretch, 53. It was close, but it didn't go through, right? But at the end of the day, punting, all that looked good, and it's like, it's just, But what do we say, Allie? You got to win 3 phases, not one.
So that's true. It's not going to do it for you. That is not going to do it for you. All right. Anything else you got?
I'm going to have some comfort food.
That sounds good.
I'm going to have an adult beverage.
Definitely.
And I'm going to try to do what the Browns do, compartmentalize this and put it over here because we got a show on Wednesday. By the way, guys, we will be out at Western Reserve Distillers on Wednesday. But big news, guys, that are watching the show. We are going to a new time, new place at 7:00 on Wednesday nights. We're going to be up 1 hour to match with our new podcast, The Stump Talk with Coach Stump Mitchell. So we're excited about that. So we're aligning those 2 shows, 7:00 on Tuesday with Stump, Wednesdays with us on 7. so we can match those up and come be an hour earlier and enjoy it. But we just thought that'd be a good move and move up an hour.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Other than that, that's all I got. I don't really want to talk about it too much more. I just need to go probably drink a beer or something. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy as always, Browns fans. Go Browns.